I'm excited. Are you excited? You better be excited. You're about to have like all the good things. Hello, my name is Kirsten. Welcome to my channel. I make houseplant content, and today I'm pretty excited and also kind of nervous because I'm repotting my Philodendron Mamei into a self-watering pot of pon. And as you can see, it's pretty much busting out of its pot, so it definitely needs to happen. So with that in mind, I have this massive self-watering trough from Lechuza. It's half full at the moment, by the way, and it's pretty heavy, so oh dear. So in order to pot it into the pon substrate, I need to take the soil off the root. So we're just going to do that. And a good way to get it out the pot is always to massage the pot first, so it kind of lets it go, because, you know, oh gosh. And also see if there's any roots that can be kind of loosened at the bottom. There's that one there. That's not too bad. Let's see. Okay. Whew. Oh, naturally have a bucket handy. Yep, you needed a repot. Look at that. Yeah, this was definitely, let's get some of this off, ready for a repot. I mean, to be fair, it was like drinking its water so much. Let me put it that way. So much prettier. Isn't it beautiful? I mean, this has got to be one of the most beautiful plants I own. It's just so stunning. This is a new leaf. It's not fully hardened off yet, so it's going to get a little bit bigger, but it's exciting to see. Right. When you're putting it into Lechuza or any pon substrate or any kind of semi-hydro, if you like putting it into leca, you have to get as much soil off the roots as possible, but like basically all the soil off the roots. You don't want to leave anything on. So, whew, got to say this is quite difficult, what with it being all kind of lopsided like this. And the plant, they might not like it originally, but they love it once they get into the pon, once they acclimate. So this is a creeping plant. A lot of people thought it was a climber for a while, so they would get it and put it on moss poles, you know, wanting to get these big ass leaves. But when they were putting them on, like, the leaves were actually getting smaller and smaller as it went up, and they were kind of getting confused by that because there just really wasn't a lot of information about this plant out there, and there still isn't, to be fair. So a lot of this is like trial and error. This is like an ongoing project. But what we do know about this is that it is not a climber. It is more like a crawler, but it's not like a typical crawler, it's a creeper. So a crawler will just sort of like crawl along the ground, but this lives in areas where it might be required to do like a little bit of climbing every now and then. It's never going to like try and reach for the stars. It's just like got the ability and can adapt when needs be to do a kind of little bit of sort of diagonal kind of climbing, but it still kind of stays quite low to the ground from what I know. And for that reason, you kind of want to treat it like a crawler. We don't typically live in environments where we can give it a completely and utterly mixed terrain. So this one's basically getting the same treatment as my gloriosum. Now, that being said, I haven't really seen a lot of information on anybody growing them long term as a crawler. There's a lot of like, oh, I'm doing it, you know, like I'm doing now, but not sort of long-term results. But it kind of makes sense that we should do that, because if you look at the pictures that you see of them in the wild, which is kind of where I get most of my inspiration or something. When I'm wanting to do something with a plant, I try and look at how it grows in the wild and try and recreate that as closely as possible. And all of the pictures have them really close to the ground, creeping along in a kind of terrestrial manner. And in botanical gardens, that's like how they grow them as well. This has got a very good root system, by the way. It's quite good soil. You know, you don't often get great soil with nursery soil. So this has been in here for the entire 6-ish months that I've had it. And arguably, if we're looking at the roots, it could have come out earlier. And the only reason I didn't take it out earlier is, like, at one point it was going through a spider mite infestation. I wanted to put it into pon and I didn't want to infect the pon, which I thought would be more difficult to clean out than soil. And the other thing was it was growing this new leaf for quite some time. And when it's like super delicate and pushing a new leaf out, I don't really like to disturb them too much. Let it concentrate on putting that leaf out and doing the best it can rather than dealing with moving house, which, you know, apparently is like the second most stressful thing that we can do is move house. It's like, what, death and moving house. Those are the most stressful things that we deal with. So you can imagine these wouldn't like it too much. After I've got all of this off the roots, then I will rinse it off. It's really important to rinse it off. There's a lot of charcoal in here as well, I'm seeing, which is nice. This is not typical kind of nursery soil. I'm going to show you how it like roots itself in a minute when we can actually have a look at its roots, because that's kind of cool. I wonder if it was drinking like so much water so quickly though. I mean, it wasn't the worst root bound thing I've ever had, but it definitely was a little bit done with that pot, wasn't it? This is quite a stressful thing for your plant, so, you know, send him some loving energy if you're doing this. People are going to think I'm a hippie now after saying that, and you would be right. Peace, love and plants, man. I think I'm going to actually have to soak this for a little bit because it's like, I'm just going to damage the roots if I do it how it is. The thing is, I watered it like quite a lot this morning. You were thirsty, weren't you? Okay, so I have the plant here. I am just rinsing off all the roots. There's a lot of chunks of bark in here. It actually helps to rinse the roots because it softens obviously all the substrate that's caught in the roots, and it also softens the roots and makes them a bit more pliable. It causes a little bit of separation as well. There's just so many big chunks of bark in here. I have to be so gentle. Probably doesn't look like I'm being gentle, but trust me, I am. I'm being so gentle. Of course it's taking 10 times longer because I'm doing it one-handed. Okay, I might put the camera down now for a sec because I need to get both the hands in on it. Okay, so I have my plant and its roots in this bucket that I rinsed it in. So if you can see here, and I'll try and zoom in, essentially, as it crawls on the ground, it roots itself as it goes. So it's rooted itself there. At every node point, it roots itself. And it would have rooted itself there and there and there. But of course the pot had ended here, so there was nothing for it to root into. So when I put it into this trough, it should have plenty of room. The roots are nice and clean and sort of more hanging in one direction, which is what we want. Okay, so I realised that I hadn't actually put the self-watering function thing on the pot, which is really annoying because there's actually pon in there at the moment, so it's pretty heavy. So I'm going to try and do that now. Right, so this is what we've got. That's not handy. Okay, so we've got this grey thing with this red. That's the indicator, which will tell you when there's enough water. You stick the indicator in this thing, which basically has polystyrene in the bottom. So that rests at the bottom of the pot, and when the water fills in, the polystyrene lifts and this lifts, this indicator lifts. And then you put both of these, oh, I've got a better way. So you put the bottom of this tube on first, and then put that in, and then this is the, wait, oh, it's got a top there. So thread the needle, groovy, perfect. And then that just snaps in. Cool. Brillo. Excellent. Oh, that's really annoying. There's also this like corner thing to cover it up. So I actually have to thread this from below. Oh, can I do that? Oh yeah. There we go. And that gives you your max min mark. There. Right. Cool. So essentially what I just did was put this that I've just made into this area here, and when you water through, there's a reservoir at the bottom that fills up, and the indicator, the little red indicator, rises with it, and so you always know if there's enough water in it. Pon is made up of lava rock, pumice and zeolite, and they've got their kind of like own fertilizer within it, and that is slow release, and it lasts for like 6 months, so you don't have to think about fertilizing for 6 months, which is great. And considering that it's like April now, and I don't really generally fertilize, certainly not heavily over the winter, because there will be like traces of fertilizer left after 6 months, so I might not have to fertilize until next year. We'll see. And I'm hoping that this pot will actually keep me going for at least a year. So what I'm going to do is put this as far back as possible. Oh, these will all like, you know, just basically go around and face the front and do what you want them to do. So dig that a little bit deeper. Naturally, I have lots more pon at the ready. Oh, and I forgot to mention, it is super duper duper important that you rinse it beforehand, because essentially when this stuff comes, it's like covered in this clay dust. Then that just basically turns into clay if you don't rinse it off. So you want to rinse it until the water's running clear, and then your roots will have a chance to breathe, because the whole idea of pon is essentially that you kind of like have this consistently moist environment that also has like a lot of oxygen going on, and is a very sort of supportive, and they get aerated and like all of that fun stuff. But if there's clay all around the roots and stuck to the roots, then that's not going to happen. So it's really important to wash your pon and rinse it through beforehand. Another really, really important thing with crawlers or creepers or whatever have you, the stem is called a stolon, and it's super important not to submerge that because it rots very easily. The stem shouldn't go underneath, it needs to be on top of the soil running along it so that it can root beneath with the nodes, but it doesn't get actually waterlogged. So that's super, super important. You need to make sure of that. Now, this is not going to stand up, but it's okay, because I kind of figured this might happen. It'll root itself and it will right itself eventually, but in the meantime I have some bamboo. Okay, so I've got this plant Velcro. It is a kind of must-have in every plant collector's arsenal in their home environment, really. Essentially, it's just Velcro that's super soft on one side. There we go, look at that, standing up. Now, I know that this is facing the wrong way, but it will chase the light, it will right itself, I promise you. Right. And then after a month or so, this will actually support itself. So I can take these bamboo things out. It needs to just kind of like get itself in there, support itself within the substrate, and like get those roots around. It's sort of more challenging with a kind of crawling terrestrial plant because it's on top. And it's just kind of balancing there. Right, so this is the kind of like challenging bit, is making sure that it's got like enough sort of pon around the base of it, that it's got support, but also making sure that it doesn't cover the pon because, cover the stolon or stolen, however you say it. Making sure it doesn't cover that so that that doesn't rot. Now, another slight thing is sometimes plants look a little bit just after they've gone into pon. And that is just because it's acclimating to something completely new. Everything that it's ever known has changed. And so my recommendation is to change like as little as possible. So make sure that you're putting it back exactly in the same spot so it's getting the same amount of light and it can expect the same stuff, so that the only thing that's changed is its soil. So if it's still getting the same kind of environmental factors, then it's much more likely to sort of bounce back faster. But you've got to understand it might look not as great for a little bit just because it's gone through a lot. However, the roots get like a lot stronger. They get actually like quite tough. It's not just the fact that they are water roots that it's developed. They just actually kind of get much more tougher and much more resilient. So yeah, exciting times. I know it probably doesn't feel like super excited at the moment, but it is what it is. So that basically now looks fantastic. I will do a care video on this plant. I'm still not like 100% confident on it. So I've just got a couple of things like I'd like to learn first. I've only had it for about 6 months, and I think you need a bit more time than that in order to actually understand your plant. So all that being said, it is coming. I will do it. It is basically one of my favourites. I mean, it's silver and it's heart-shaped. So yeah, and it's just a very interesting plant. I'm sort of hoping this was like a bit of a faff, but I'm really hoping I don't have to move its pot for another like year or so. But to be fair, I don't think I'd want it any bigger than like the edge of this pot anyway, like growing on there. What's that going to be, like 3 or 4, 5 more leaves? So yeah, when it reaches there, I will be propagating. And the cool thing is it pre-roots itself. So I'll be able to hand them over to my friends as pre-rooted cuttings. And that will be really handy and lovely. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. It would be awesome to hear about anybody who's got a Philodendron Mamei, what experiences they've had. I feel like this is a very not talked about plant. It's not talked about enough, that's for sure. And there's a lot of misconceptions about it. So it'd be really cool to like share the knowledge and get a discourse going so that we can all learn essentially. So yeah, I'd love to hear that. Anybody, pop it in the comments below. And yeah, also if you have any questions or queries, or if you just want a Philodendron Mamei, put it in the comments. If you want to see more videos like this from me, please subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a video. Cheerio.